welcome to my channel. My name is Ashley, and if you're new here, I make content to help encourage Christian singles. I'm currently fighting against daylight savings time, so if the lighting is weird, that is why. It's like kind of dark outside, but I'm attempting to create light here, so I do apologize if the lighting is throwing you off. It is throwing me off. Anyways, I just wanted to welcome my new subscribers. I'm so glad that you're here. I hope that you stick around, and if you get anything out of this video, I would just really appreciate if you hit the like and subscribe button. That way you never miss any of my posts, and it also helps my content to get out there. So anyways, I wanted to talk about something that I'm fairly passionate about, but have not always been passionate about. And as I go through basically the single journey, this is something where I feel like I have been challenged with the most. I've been kind of, I guess, challenged by others as well. And I've struggled with this, and I think a big reason why I've struggled with it is just knowing God's will, and also how do you balance God's will with what you want, and also with what God wants for you, and how do you hold on to a promise that you believe that God's given to you whenever it's been a long time since you've received the promise, or how do you hold on to a dream if it's been a long time since you received it. And I have really just been studying the story of Joseph, and I think that is one where if you're holding on to something that you can really glean a lot out of. Joseph, as a young boy, received these dreams that made his brothers just very jealous of him, and when they heard his dream, they basically discredited it. And I resonate a lot with Joseph in that, in the sense of people rejecting the dream that you have, or the thing that you believe that God has shown to you, and how do we as singles navigate that. And I'm just going to share my experiences. I'm going to share my take. It does not mean that is the final say. Obviously, always take what you hear and evaluate it against the word of the Lord. What I wanted to share was just holding on to the promises that God has given you. Specifically for me, just holding on to the promise of a future spouse. I have really been challenged with that through my singleness, just believing that God has someone for me, believing and praying that God has a godly husband for me. And as I share this dream, as I share this promise with people, a lot of times I'll get kickback or feedback that says, you know, you just need to let that go. You just need to basically I would say, like, accept your singleness and accept that that's what God has for you. And I think people aren't trying to be malicious in that. I don't think so anyways. But as I get those words spoken over me, it's hurtful, because that's not what God has spoken over me. That's not what God is telling me to cling to when I'm praying for my future spouse. And I wanted to make this video because if I've suffered so much kickback, I know that you probably have as well, as a single in your waiting season. And I wanted to make this video as an encouragement. Not everyone is going to agree with the promise that God has spoken over you. Like with Joseph, his brothers did not agree with the dreams that God had given to him, but that didn't change the fact that God had given him the dream. And I think for us as singles, we can carry like a guilt and a shame with wanting a future spouse. We can begin to think, oh, well, maybe I'm not content in the Lord, or maybe I need to just let that go. And I think that's a really toxic trait of the church, really. there's more instances in the Bible where it encourages you to find someone, where there's instances not to find someone. And I know that Paul, he said it was better for him to remain single, but it also said, if you're burning with lust for someone, if that's your heart's desire, like pursue that. And I think a lot of singles carry like this thought process that, oh, well, I'm the Paul. But you have to think, if you are desiring a marriage and if that's something that you've been praying for, then that is okay. It's okay and it's godly to desire a godly marriage. And don't allow the critiques or the criticisms of believers and other people within the church to nullify your dream, to take away from the promise that God has given to you. And my prayer for you is that God would bring people alongside of you who believe that God is sending you someone, who can rally alongside you and say, you know what, I believe that God is sending you a spouse, and I am going to pray for that. I'm going to be on the lookout for you. I'm going to be an intercessor and a cheerleader, because I know that God wants kingdom marriages. I know that God wants the quiver full for you. And to be someone who encourages others and encourages your friends. And I think that's really where singles have grown discouraged, is just the heart posture that says, oh, I must give up on this, or I must just be content in this season, which it's really weird to me that people say that. And I understand like where they're coming from. Like, yes, you want to be content, but you can be content and still desiring something God has for you. You can be content and still pressing forwards in the things that God has spoken over you. It doesn't mean just because you're content that you've given up on a promise that God has for you. And that's really why I wanted to make this video, because I want you to walk boldly in the promise that God has spoken over your life. I want you to be so determined and so full of faith. And when people talk to you, that you can say, I'm praying for my future spouse. I'm praying for my godly husband. I'm praying for my godly wife. And I'm inviting you into that with me. And it's not a guarantee. This isn't just a prosperity gospel that I'm sharing. Obviously, we're not all going to get the thing that we have been praying for, but we can still pray for it. We can still believe for it. We can still trust that God is going before us, even if we don't receive, like Hebrews 11 said, even if we don't receive the promise, that we're holding on to it till the end. And that is what I want to have. I want to have the faith that says, I believe my God is going before me. I believe that he's promised me a godly spouse. I believe that he is going before my prayers that I pray every day for my future husband. And even though someone may try to come in and say, well, you shouldn't believe that, or you shouldn't be holding on to that, that doesn't take away from the fact that that's what God has spoken to me. That's what he has told me to hold on to and hope. And if you are like me and you just feel discouraged and, just desiring that people would come alongside you in your hope and encourage you and love on you and pray for you, not everyone is going to see that vision. Not everyone is going to be excited for what you're excited for. And that's okay, but don't let it stop you from believing. Don't let it stop you from praying bold prayers, because we are in a spiritual battle. We have to see past the physical and see into the spiritual realm of the fact that there's an enemy who wants us to stop praying for our future spouse. There's an enemy who wants us to believe that God doesn't have something for us, that we should just give up. And that's not the attitude that I'm going to take as a Christian. Like, that's not the heart posture that I want other people to follow me in. As a leader, I want to be someone who shows the example that I believe that God is going before my dream. I believe that God is going before my vision. I believe that God is going before me in a promise. And I am going to lead in faith in that and hope and trust that God is going before me. And I just wanted to make this video because I've just been passionate about this with words and feedback that I've been getting in my own life. And I just wanted to encourage you, if you feel like no one is for you in this, that doesn't mean that God is not. It doesn't mean that God has left you just because it's been a long season. Like with Joseph, he had to go through such a long season before he actually received the promise, the dream that God had given to him. And I want you to hold on to that. I want you to cling to the fact that God is going before you, even if it looks like it's been a long season of just dry well. He is the living water, and let him be your source of strength and hope in the waiting. And let him be your source of courage as you pray for your future spouse. And I just thank you so much for watching, and I pray that your day is blessed. Bye.